Hey, Tony Gasser here. Now, I want to talk about something that's still very, very, prevalent, prominent, whatever word we want to use right there. And that's a man and his communication. And a lot of times we struggle with this, and I notice women struggling with this. And one of the things that I have noticed is that a lot of women don't know and understand men. And I honestly believe that there is an innate submission in most women. I believe that women are wired to submit to a man. And what I mean by that is I notice a lot of women either wired or raised. It's one of the two, and maybe it's raised. Because, you know what? I think it's raised. I think a lot of women come to a place where aunts or their mom or society is telling them, if you want a husband, you need to learn how to shut up, how to tolerate this man. A man is going to be a man. But if you want to be taken care of, or if you want a second income, if you don't want your life to be miserable, working by yourself and not having a man helping you around the house or helping you pay bills, or if you want to have kids so that you have a lineage, a legacy, then you need to learn how to be quiet. I believe, and the reason why I say that is because when we think about elementary, the little girls run the show. I remember in 4th grade, I said something slick out the mouth to a young lady, and she punched me in the stomach. That thing hurted. I remember in the 9th grade, I said something slick out the mouth, and the girl punched me in the face. So I feel like at some point, women are taught to shut up and just deal with a man, and that is the biggest mistake you can make. That's the biggest mistake a woman can make. The other biggest mistake a woman can make is to stoop to the bad communication level of the man. So if a man is a yeller, a woman should not yell. She should remove herself and make him talk to her in a regular tone, and then she talk to him in a regular tone. If a man is someone who shuts down, a woman should not shut down. If the man is someone who curses, the woman should not curse back. As you've heard, 2 wrongs don't make a right. So you got to redirect the situation. And a lot of times women say, oh, I don't like confrontation. But my dad said something to me. He said, in a time of peace, prepare for war. And what he was saying, he said, what that means is when everything cool and chill, you ought to have the conversation that you need to have. Instead of waiting until things are tense or things blow up and then trying to talk through everything. Be prepared for it and have the conversation ahead of time. And so the way men communicate is determined by what they saw or how they were treated growing up. So a lot of times, women, you may have the man who is nonchalant, or like a recluse, or he shuts down. He doesn't give you the communication. That man was raised, big boys don't cry, shut up, suck it up, pick it up, get up, do what you're told to do. You a child, stay in a child's place. All of those different things is how he was raised. He could have been punched in the mouth by his mama. He could have been punched in the mouth by his daddy. He could have been told to shut up by his school teachers, told he dumb by his school teachers, could have been picked on by friends for the way he talked, could have stuttered, could have had an accent, could have had a lisp. could have had just some that got him picked on, that made him an introvert, that made him quiet. So when you have that man who shuts down, there's some pain there. There's some trauma there, because it's not human nature to shut down. It's something that the person has gone through that has suppressed their desire or their innate ability to communicate. It has been suppressed. So when you have that type of man who he shuts down, you got to create a cool, calm, and collected space. You got to create a space of peace. You can't try to get him to talk when you're angry, when you're frustrated, because the octave in your voice is louder. You raising your voice, or you talking more firm, or you talking faster, which is then going to make him shut down even more. But if you can talk like how I'm talking right now, room tone, in a slow, steady pace, not too high, not too low, not too fast, not too slow, all of those, then now it's kind of, you got to think about like them little waves. Think about the sound waves. When you look at sound waves and your voice get higher and the waves shoot up. But then when it's just steady, it's right here. This way you want to be. He comfortable. Even if it's a little lower, he comfortable. But if you talking and it's doing like this, and then coming back down, and it's doing like this, and then coming back down, now he's going to shut down, because he's been wired and trained to retreat. He's been wired and trained to shut down, or there's going to be punishment if he's speaking up, if he keep talking. And so that right there, it can be worked through, but you got to be creative in your communication style. So you got to create a safe space, and you got to ask open-ended questions. And you got to be okay listening and then hearing the answer and then asking the next question. And the answer has to be a safe space. So if he says something wrong, if he says something in a way you don't understand, ask another question. If he says something wrong, just don't critique him or correct him. Just let him say it. Meaning if his grammar is bad, if he says something that sounds a little harsh or it come off the wrong way, just hear him and then ask the next question. Then once you get him comfortable talking and he's expressing himself, now he's dropped that guard, he has opened up. Now you can start to talk to him on the next level, because he could have been on a kindergarten level of communication. Then when you get him to a 3rd grade level, then a 5th grade level, then an 8th grade level, then a 12th grade level, then a senior in college level, then a master's, then a doctorate, you're going to go up in levels of communication. And so you got to get to that place to get that communication, and it takes time. So you can't talk to a kindergartner on a 5th grade level. You can't teach a kindergartner 5th grade work. You got to work that kindergartner up to the 5th grade. Then you teach them 5th grade work. Same thing happened with communication. A baby in communication, someone that's new to articulating themselves and expressing their feelings and answering open-ended questions without being judged, you got to take your time. And you got to kind of deal with some of the stuff, the mistakes, and some of the stuff that don't really make a lot of sense. Then some of you ladies, you're going to have the man that is very aggressive and blunt, very condescending. That comes from him seeing control growing up, whether it was a controlling mother or a controlling father, a controlling family member of any kind, a controlling coach or older friend or cousin or whoever. And he saw control. And when I say control, somebody being controlling, a dictator, domineering, dominating. And so that developed his communication style. he saw pain. He saw somebody who was hurting and spewing their pain and their hurt onto somebody else. So he saw that and he has developed that. He modeled that. So now he takes his frustration in life out on you. And with that situation, you still got to find a peaceful time. So, and after it happens one time, and it may catch you off guard, it may happen a second time and a third time, and you're like, oh, okay, this is a pattern. There's gonna be waves with that person, with that man. And so when he's down here, and it's not you don't want to do this at a date night. You're not doing this over dinner in public. You're doing this when you in the house. If you at his place, he at your place. It's a cool, chill day. You haven't gotten into the movie on Netflix yet. But everything kind of chill. You maybe just finished talking about the day. And then you say, hey, I want to talk to you about something. Maybe the movie was supposed to happen. Maybe it was supposed to be a little action. If y'all living in fornication, God bless you, praying for you. Hope you get your life together. If y'all living in fornication or, whatever you're doing, maybe something's about to go down and now it is diverted because you say, hey, I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about something. So you go ahead and have that conversation. And now, and you just say, hey, one of the things I notice is that when we talking, a lot of times you talk to me very harshly. And I don't think you mean anything by it. I don't even think you realize it. But I want to know, why do you talk to me so harshly? And now, in any case, a lot of times a person is going to be defensive. They're going to have a lot of excuses. Oh, I'm busy, or oh, I'll be rushing, or oh, I'm stressed, or oh, I'm going through this. You can't accept any excuses. You can't accept any explanations. Meaning you could hear it, but you still have to make it known. Well, hey, this is what I want you to understand. I am not going to be able to be in a situation being talked to like that. So I really want you to be mindful. And the person may call your bluff. He may start cursing you out right then. He may start talking to you right then. He may get nasty with you right then. And you got to be able to get up and walk away and not look back. You got to be able to send a very strong and firm message. You got to not answer that next call, not answer that next text. You got to send that message so that he knows talking to me like that is absolutely 100% unacceptable. Can he change? Yes, but he has to be shown what's not acceptable. And when a man finds out what's not acceptable, without you stooping to his level. See, a lot of times a woman, if she getting talked to the wrong way, she may go get into sin. She may start cheating. She may start lying. She may start embezzling, stealing money from his account. She may start talking bad about him to other people and doing all the wrong stuff. But instead, you got to confront the situation, confront the problem head on, make it known, express it, and let it be known that you're not going to deal and tolerate with it. Tolerate it. And that's going to start to shift things. It's going to change things. If he cares and he wants to be with you, he's going to make a conscious effort. And he may do great for a while and then go back to it one time just to test you, to see if you really about that life, to see if you really meant what you said. And at that time, you got to shut it down. You got to remove yourself and you got to remind him, I told you, I'm not going to deal with that. And now if you come back again and he let 6 months or a year go by and then he try you again, now you know it's a habit. You got to set in your mind how many times you going to leave, how many times you going to send this message. When you have to leave for 2 weeks with no contact, that's the last time that you leave and come back. If you come back after 2 weeks with no contact and then he does that again, the next time you leave, you got to leave for good. You got to leave for good. So you might have 1 day of separation. Then the next time it might be 3 days. It need to be 3 days. And then the next time, 14 days. After that 14 days, that next time, if he make you leave again, and before you come back out of that 14 days, you got to make it explicitly clear. Listen, I don't care if we have 10 kids, and I don't care if it's 10 years from now. If you talk to me like that again, you will never be able to talk to me again. You have to make it clear. And what I'm asking you ladies is to recognize crazy early. Recognize the signs early and speak directly to the issue. As men, we are not the big bad wolf. We actually talk to you and treat you the way we treat you because we fear you and we respect you. And what I mean by that is, and I know it sounds weird, but a man knows that a woman is a very complex being and very hard to understand and figure out, and we just don't know what's coming. And so because we fear the unknown, we try to be controlling or toxic or abusive to scare the woman into being like a lapdog, because we fear that a flourishing, bubbling, confident woman is going to be too much for us to handle. Our insecurity, our jealousness, our territorial sense, we feel like this flourishing, bubbly woman is going to be too much to handle. So we try to break you and suppress you, hoping for control. You got to recognize that, understand that, you got to speak directly to it. And when you call it out and you're explicit, meaning direct, in your communication, letting the man know that this is wrong, you need to identify the root, you need to uproot this, and you need to change this behavior if you want us to have a future. And when you express that, he will hear you. He is not dumb. This is not rocket science. He does not need you to write it in Braille. He is not blind unless he is actually blind, but he's not deaf. And then if he's deaf and he's not blind, yeah, you might need to sign language it. But however you got to get it to him, he understands you perfectly fine. The reason why it seems like we don't understand is because we're testing you to see if you really meant what you said. We feel like somebody could have put a battery in your back and you doing this because you got pumped up, but really you not like that. Really you're not about that life. Really you're not that strong, but somebody done pump you up. And so that's why we do it over and over a couple times after you done called it out, because we want to see if you really connected, committed to that stance. And yes, that's childish of the man, but that is life. People gonna do and say childish stuff, and you got to understand that, and you got to call it out. And so now, on the other side, what you may have is a man who is an over-talker. He's an over-explainer. He loves to listen to his self-talk. And that's me a lot of times. And that's how I can do these long videos. But it's also because I was raised like that. My dad used to talk to me 2-3 hours straight. And I do that with my sons. I got to talk to my son like, boy, don't be talking your wife head off now. But I done did that. And so a lot of times that man being an over-talker, what we fail to do is we could fall in love with our voice. We could fall in love with our articulation, and we could over-talk in a normal relationship, in a conversation, and drown out the other person's thoughts and feelings and wants and desires. And we just get so caught up expressing ours. And now there's men who, I've been all three of these men. And there's a lot of men who have been all three of these men. And a lot of men got all three of them in them, because we all know how to communicate. We all know how to play a role. We all know how to fake. And I tell women all the time, they say, oh, he's not a good communicator. He know how to talk. Watch him with his homeboys. He talk their head off. He ain't got no problem talking. He know how to talk. He just ain't talking to you because he understand what push your buttons and he understand how it manipulates you. But he know exactly how to talk. He know exactly how to communicate. He choosing not to. So you got to let it be known what communication is acceptable. And so my wife had to tell me, and eventually she had to just come out and just straight out tell me, listen, when you want me to change something, I don't mind you telling me, but just tell me. I'm not dumb. I can hear you. Just tell me, and then just let's get on about our life. Let me enact that change. But if you rip me a new one for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, and we talking about this thing, and this thing has gone so long, it's so draining that at the end of it, I don't feel like doing nothing. You know, I feel less than, I feel worthless. And we had to go through this talk in our marriage, and we had to get to that place where I had to understand, like, okay, let me express my heart, what I feel, what I need. And what I learned is that anything I ask of my wife, she'll do it. Like, she there for me. Like, anything I need, she there. So instead of being man number one and suppressing it and not saying nothing and letting that build up resentment, and then being man number two and being too blunt, or then being man number three and over expressing to where it becomes demoralizing, to just be a healthy communicator as a man, and for the men watching this, and just in a time of peace, express my feelings, how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I need, and be able to do that in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most. Be able to answer questions that the woman has, not be defensive, not be attacking, not make excuses, seek to understand, then be understood. No yelling, no cursing, no storming off, no standing up over the person. None of those rule breakers. And I wrote out all the communication rules in this book, Make It Work. So make sure you read this if you haven't. But getting to that place, and then I learned that, and I'm like, man, this works a lot better. And then also, as a woman, let your man know that you want him to be attentive. And my wife, she had to check me on that a few times in our marriage, like, hey, I'm talking to you. Can you put your phone down? Can you look me in the eye? Can you listen to me? And she'll talk. And I'm always thinking about providing. I'm always working. I'm always checking the email. I'm always planning a course. I'm always planning a video. I'm always, thinking about that next move, because my family, I done put us on a level of living that is extremely expensive. So I always have to be looking into my next business venture. So my mind is always on providing, that sometimes I forget to be present. So I have to be very mindful about being present, and I have to be very, intentional about that. And there's some times that my wife in our relationship has had to remind me, hey, snap out of it. Like, we here, and be here. Be where your feet are, as the quote says. I don't know what quote it is. And that's something that may have to be done as well when you're dealing with a man. And so understand that every man is capable of healthy and effective communication. Even if he is deaf, even if he is mute, every man is capable of healthy and effective communication. I've worked with men who are deemed mildly retarded, just like on paper, not the derogatory way that kids use the word, but on their description, on their paperwork, it say mildly retarded. Some are schizophrenic, some are bipolar, and I have seen them men with these different mental issues still learn how to communicate and how to express their wants and needs. I've seen guys who are schizophrenic with a stutter still learn how to express their wants and needs. So I say that to say that if men who have mental health issues or mental disabilities can find a way to express their wants and needs, then a man who is fully functional can do the same. And as a woman, you cannot accept less than healthy and effective and productive communication. You cannot say, well, this is just who he is, this is just how he is, this is just men, and allow yourself to be ignored or cursed out or yelled at or talked down to. If this communication doesn't stimulate you or like turn you on in the sense of like you are like, I love talking to this man. If you don't get that feeling, then you need to talk to him and express to him what you need. But then also as a woman, you need to understand if you got communication problems, because everything that I just mentioned about a man with his communication, you as a woman could have the same issues. So you might be a over talker and you need to talk less. You might be asking too many questions and you need to ask less. You might be being too blunt or being condescending because you have a master's degree and he got a high school diploma. Or you got a bachelor's and he got a high school diploma. Or he don't have a diploma. So you might be talking down to him, making him feel stupid, but then expecting him to give you healthy communication in return. So when you have expressed things to this man, and if he's still not changing, you need to also look at your communication skills and style to see if you're communicating concisely, confidently, respectfully, properly, effective and efficient communication that is healthy. And if you're not, then that could be the problem. If you are, then he should get to the place where he is reciprocating that healthy communication. And if he doesn't, but you know he is full and well and capable of it, then that is your sign that you are not his wife. You're not the one for him. He's not invested in the relationship, and then you go about your business. So, hey, this Tony Gaskin. God bless y'all. And we will talk soon. Now, hopefully, you know, I keep getting some videos up here. Try to have us a little consistency, but, you know, life happens. God bless y'all. We'll talk soon.